Yo, what's up, man? It's your boy Derek Branch here, strike7sports.com. And tonight we're gonna start our NFL preview podcast. We're gonna preview a few selected teams and just bring a few guests on and talk about the team, give a breakdown on it, and also any news note that goes on with the team. So tonight, got a special guest with me tonight. He's the co-host of the Third Three podcast. Diehard San Francisco 49ers fan. Well, I'd like to welcome Jason Fierman to the show. What's up, man?
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad that we got this opportunity to talk tonight. Can't wait to talk about my 49ers. It's great. I haven't got to the NFC West division on the Third and Three podcast yet, so this is a nice appetizer, and I appreciate it. And want to give you a shout out with Strike 7 Sports, man. The articles are pumping out, and the people are loving it, bro. So you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, the 49ers didn't got up to the start that everyone expected them to have last year. Didn't have the finish that we expected them to have last year. Didn't make the playoffs. Everybody, dealt with the COVID-19 situation. Stadium wasn't filled to capacity. Even though it's not Candlestick Park, it still has a nice, to me, has a nice vibe to it. Levi Stadium has a nice home field advantage to it. But unfortunately, no fans could attend like other stadiums around the country. You guys bring back Trent Williams. You resign Fred Warner. You bring back you sign Ebicon, the defensive end, who played some time in Los Angeles with Aaron Donald. You bring back Jason Verrett, Dante Johnson, sign Alex Mack. So you guys did pretty good off season. Core is pretty much intact. Quarterback situation, Jimmy Garoppolo's back as well. So everybody's pretty much coming back with this team. So I think it's going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, I'm psyched about it. Obviously you said it last year, whether it was COVID or whether it was injuries, which destroyed us, even like guys like, George Kittle was out. We didn't have our running game. Raheem Mostert was missing time. Even Debo missed time. We know that obviously Garoppolo went out, and we know that he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but something you were alluding to, off air actually for a second before we got on is that, this team doesn't need to have a spectacular, great quarterback in order to go and win a Super Bowl. They were that close a couple of years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's because that offense runs so well. And if that offensive line holds up, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, man. It's a pretty good team. I wrote an article on this last year about how this team can just pretty much, it's a plug and play factor with it. As long as, personnel are healthy, guys at the quarterback position pretty much thrive in it. As long as the other pieces around are healthy, I think it's that type of football team. And they're gonna have their work cut out for them with playing in the NFC West. What I think is gonna be a pretty difficult division, a tough division to be in. I think if anybody have to knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's going to come from the NFC West. I just think they're going to be that good. I think the division has the personnel to knock off Tom Brady. They have, no matter you think it is, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, or LA. The verdict's still out on Arizona, but I think they're still good. But they have the pass rushers that can collapse the pocket and get after a immobile quarterback like Tom Brady.
Yes. Yep. That's very true. That's very true. And you know what? When teams don't, especially if teams don't have good offensive lines, it makes it that much easier. And, a team like the 49ers who really don't blitz that much, they just rush for it because they're able to get to the quarterback. It's that much of an advantage.
Right. And I just think it's going to be a really good football team, man. I just think they're going to have a bounce back year. Put the league on notice. I think they don't play the Bucs this year. I think the Rams are the only NFC West team that Tampa Bay sees. So that's going to be a appetizer of what we could possibly see, and I'm looking forward to it. So I just want to ask you this: so during the night of the draft, right? Well, a few days leading up to the draft, Aaron Rodgers and his handlers sent a message to the insiders, all insiders, Adam Schefter, Josina Anderson, Trey Wingo,
Yeah.
uh, what's the other guy? Florio, everyone, anybody that had a blue check mark in the football in the football space knew about this.
Yep.
So the talk was that Rodgers was under the impression that he was out of there because of feelings hurt, things weren't met. Draft this guy. When we needed this guy. And the idea was that the team had got in contact with the 49ers in return for that spot where you were at. And I want to ask you, do you believe the Niners were all in on trading for Aaron Rodgers?
I do. I mean, maybe the price wasn't there. And again, Green Bay really wasn't willing to trade him. So maybe the price was there. Who knows? But yes, I believe that they wanted him because this team was ready to go. They didn't know they're going to have all those injuries last year, obviously. And ironically enough, I did predict on 3rd and 3 on our show last year that it would be Aaron Rodgers last year in Green Bay. And that almost happened. And I really believe that he was going to go back to California where the 49ers should have drafted him in 2005, number 1 overall, but went with Alex Smith. God bless his heart. Yeah, I did. I thought that I really thought that there was a good chance Aaron Rodgers was coming to San Francisco for the rest of his career, and let's see what happens. But it didn't work out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking as well because I was the season prior, and I felt like if he leaves, I felt like he can go back to the Bay. It's like, history. Niners have a history of great quarterback play. You had Joe Montana, you had Steve Young. Both guys went to the Super Bowl. And then
Yep.
you had a period where Jeff Garcia came in. He wasn't Montana or Young, but he had his moments as well where he looked pretty good.
Sure.
Kaepernick came in. He had his moments. We went to a Super Bowl, almost won a Super Bowl. Didn't happen,
That's right.
but it's a tradition to me. You have great quarterback play at that position with that franchise. It's just they've been lucky. And Aaron Rodgers would have been, icing on the cake. It's the NFL would have loved it. To me, they would have loved it, to have Aaron Rodgers in a 49ers uniform. It'd been a great storyline. They would have been favorites to win the Super Bowl. Probably, to take down the Bucks. I think things would have shifted in the NFC. That's what I
I
got.
totally agree. I totally agree with you. Aaron Rodgers on that team, they would have been the favorites to win the Super Bowl. And you know what? Again, injuries aside, if everything went right, I totally believe that they would have gone over. They would have beat the Bucks, the Saints, anybody who was standing in their way, the Rams. It doesn't matter who it was. Aaron Rodgers still, we have to remember, is that amazing quarterback, and he can work in any system. And again, he's a guy at this point where he's not worried about his stats, even though he won MVP last year. He did that because he's a great quarterback. He wants to win Super Bowls, and that's a big reason why he wanted to come to San Francisco and maybe had a couple other teams on his checklist, but he's back in Green Bay in that cold weather.
Right. And with the Niners I just think they have the personnel, man. It's just the right people. You have Brandon Ayuk, who I think is going to be amazing in that system. You got Deebo Samuels. You got the running back Raheem Mostert. I think it's Tevin Coleman still with the team.
No, he's not. It's amazing. We have all these different running backs. We picked up Wayne Gallman from the Giants. Right. Drafted Trey Sermon, who I really like. He's getting playing time during the preseason right now. Still Jeffrey Wilson, who we have. He's on the PUP list at the moment. But we got a whole bunch of running backs, and that's the thing. Kyle Shanahan likes to rotate running backs in, keep fresh legs going. We saw that, like you said, with Tevin Coleman last year and Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert when he was healthy, and other players like that. So, yeah, that's Kyle Shanahan's MO. Let's keep the fresh legs going and keep that running game moving.
Yeah, man, that's what I like about this team, man. I wrote about this. I think I wrote about it last year. How this team is you just plug and play, along with certain as long as the other pieces of the team can function, it's pretty good. And what blew me away, but what really impressed me about Kyle Shanahan's system was the 2019-2020 playoffs when Garoppolo threw the ball. I think it was 15 times.
Yeah.
Demolished Green Bay, demolished Minnesota. It's just like,
Yeah.
wow, man. Just you don't have to. It is. I like this. Is why I like his system. It doesn't. It's not beholden to an elite quarterback or an air raid offense where you freaking jam the receivers and what I'm saying, this
Yeah.
where DC can easily figure out is grounded. It could be one day it could be ground and pound. Next day it could be next Sunday. It's like, okay, you want to do a shootout with us? Okay, we can get you with the air raid.
Yeah,
You
that's
already
one.
things. To me.
That's one of the great things I love about the offense is that Kyle Shanahan's mind is fantastic, and I know that we got the new offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel coming in. He's been on the team for 4 years, but it's Kyle Shanahan's offense. He calls the plays, and what makes it so great is all the motion before the ball is snapped. Whether it's Debo going in motion or Ayuk, or they bring the back, into the backfield, and they shift around with Kyle Juszczyk, who's a fullback, where fullbacks were almost dead in the NFL, but this guy does it all. So all that motion and all that movement that goes on before the ball is even snapped has defenses confused and moving around. And that's what happens. We have our guards pulling and everything like that, and they don't know where the ball is. And all of a sudden somebody's wide open. And again, we don't need to throw the ball deep. We throw short to intermediate routes. So if you're accurate with that, the way that Jimmy Garoppolo is, and hopefully Trey Lance will be, that's success. That's a recipe right there. So you're right on with what you're saying.
Yeah, because if you don't have, to me, just my observation, if you don't have, sideline to sideline linebackers, guys that can set the edge on defense, you're in trouble against Kyle Shanahan. If you're not potent in those areas, your defense will suffer. But on to the next question, man. I want to ask you. So we're gonna stick to the draft of that night. So another storyline that was brewing leading up to the draft was the 49ers in their quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time there was I think it was Justin Fields was in the mix. It was at one time it was Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance. So it was just the whole build up of, hey, the Niners are gonna go with they made the move with Miami to get into that spot. And the idea was that the narrative was that the 49ers were all in on Justin Fields. A few days later, okay, his Fields is out. His stock is plummeting.
Right.
Now, it's Trey Lance. Next rumor. Oh, they're all in on Mac Jones. Everybody, all blue chip guys, insiders. It's Mac Jones. Night of the draft, I thought it was Mac. I think in my mock draft, I had the Niners going with Mac Jones. For me.
There you go. That they put the news out there, so it makes sense that you would think that.
So Goodell goes to the podium. Niners take Trey Lance. So, okay, I eat crow. It is what it is. I think it's a good move. But I want to ask you, at the night of the draft, did you want the Niners to take Mac Jones or Trey Lance? Or even Justin Fields?
I wanted them to take Justin Fields. That's who I wanted. I never believed in Mac Jones. Look, you don't trade 2 first-round draft picks and mortgage part of your future to get Mac Jones. No offense to him, but yeah, he seems to be pretty good in the pocket and whatnot, but that's not what we wanted. We needed a mobile quarterback. So I thought Justin Fields, Ohio State, everything playing in big games in the playoffs. And Trey Lance, a guy who definitely has a tremendous upside, but hadn't played and was playing at North Dakota. So I'm like, it's got to be Justin Fields. So when they did take Trey Lance, was I shocked? No, I wasn't shocked completely because of what I heard and that they gave him an extra workout and worked in a lot of 49ers plays with him. So apparently they loved him, and the 49ers wouldn't have moved him to that spot unless they were in love with one of those quarterbacks, and it happened to be Lance. But yeah, Derek, to answer your question, I thought it was Justin Fields, and I still feel like it should have been Justin Fields.
Gotcha. So here's my thing with Mac Jones. I've been saying this for a while. I've said it in few of my YouTube videos, even in my content I've written. I think the guy can play at the next level, and I watch a lot of SEC games with Alabama, LSU, and the narrative about the guy is that he pretty much had a free ride to a national championship draft stock rise because he had NFL wide receivers, he had an NFL line, an NFL defense.
That's right.
It was just everything fell in place with the guy. And a guy online on YouTube tried to make a comment at me that, hey, Joe Burrow went through the same thing. I'm like, not necessarily, because Burrow had to go on to Texas, had to go on the road to we had to play Florida in a crucial game. He had to play Alabama. He had to go to Alabama and beat them when they're at their best. So not really Joe Burrow and Mac Jones didn't have the same type of situation.
No.
Mac Jones, COVID year. I'm not trying to put that I'm not trying to label him with that, but playing the COVID year, LSU had their issues, and I knew that was going to be a situation going forward with Alabama winning the national championship and Mac Jones' stock rising. But my thing is, I think he can play, as long as there's A to B level talent around him. However, I think things could. I don't know if Belichick wants to do this with his roster, because I think Mac Jones is going to be the type of quarterback that you're going to have to constantly spend money to build around.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I think if he would have went to the 49ers, he'd be fine. The guy would have been fine because, like I said, as long as he has A to B level talent around him, he can win. Now, you have him with those practice squad players and, these guys that late round picks that you don't know anything about, he's going to have a hard time. But I thought it should have went with Fields as well, but they like Trey Lance. I don't really know that much about him. Saw a few of his games in college. Still, that's not enough sample size for me, so I'm going to have to see how things going to play out in the future.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Should have taken Fields. And real quick on Mac Jones, you talk about plug and play with the 49ers. That's the same damn thing that happens at Alabama. That is plug and play with quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, Tua came out and we're still waiting to see how he's going to pan out in the NFL. I actually have high hopes for him. I'm optimistic about Tua right now. But before that, we can't name any quarterbacks that came out of Alabama that were actually good in the NFL. So that's a perfect example of how plug and play with Mac Jones. It worked out in Alabama, and his receivers were wide open, man. So I get where you're coming from.
Right. And I want to ask you this, too. So, in your estimation, your opinion, if the 49ers start off the season red hot with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, do you contact teams to trade him and give it to Trey Lance going forward, or do you keep Jimmy Garoppolo, build his stock up even more, see what happens in the playoffs, then send him off? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with the latter. Jimmy G's going to start. There's no doubt about it. Trey Lance still has a lot to learn, and that's evident by the last game that he played. Even though he threw a beautiful pass, 80 yards for a touchdown, but no, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there until he either A, would unfortunately get hurt, which he has a history of doing, or he starts playing poorly. Then they'll bring in Trey Lance. They're not going to beef up Jimmy's stock for this season to try to trade him and then bring in Trey Lance. If Jimmy G is doing well, he's not coming out. But, however, I do believe that would be for the next year, after this season. If Garoppolo plays so well, we know that Trey Lance is the future. They will try to trade Jimmy G and get something for him. So I believe that would happen at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I just think if you're winning these games, you're doing pretty good with Garoppolo producing. Don't make a hasty decision to trade this guy to another team, because more than likely there are going to be teams needing quarterbacks by week 6 or 7, they're going to realize, hey, we need a quarterback. And if this guy is doing good, I won't be surprised if the 49ers might not even have to call anybody. Teams are going to call them and inquire about this guy.
Hey,
Especially, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if they bring up an offer too good to refuse, a little Godfather action right there, then yeah, they would have to probably do it because Trey Lance is the future no matter what.
Yeah, and it may happen. It may not happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Kyle Shanahan is too smart for that. But I want to ask you the last question, and then we're going to ask something outside of the Niners. But what is your overall outlook for this team for 2021, and do you believe they're a Super Bowl contender?
Again, health being there, that's the number one thing. So, we put that aside and assume that they're going to be healthy, for the most part. Yeah, they're a Super Bowl contender. They were there 2 years ago. They were up by 10 points, excuse me, going into the fourth quarter, and they blew it on defense, which is the only part that I worry about the 49ers is their secondary. They got you mentioned Dante Johnson, who I like. I do like Jimmy Ward. I like Jakarski Tart and Jason Verrett. I do like all these guys, but none of them are, to me, again, all pros, first team NFL and stuff like that. So I do get a little worried on the back end. That play that happened with Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl never should have happened. The 49ers even practiced that play over and over again. So that still eats at me. But you mentioned Fred Warner earlier. He's an all-pro. He's unbelievable, a Pro Bowler. Dre Greenlaw, second-year player coming out. He's excellent. Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead. I mean, this is a team ready to go, and that's what I'm saying. Their big thing and why they can be a little bit weaker, to use a word, in the secondary is because they can get after that quarterback that quick with just 4 guys. So offensively, they can move the ball. Debo, he's a running back / receiver. Brandon Ayuk is a big guy. He can run over you. He can jump over you. I love what they got. I believe they're a Super Bowl contender, or they might pick. I haven't officially made it yet, but damn, yes, they absolutely are, my friend.
And what do you have for your overall record for the season?
Overall record for the season, I got them at 12-5, which is still weird to say, with 17 games. But I think, they'll lose a couple of games in the division. Seattle, they'll probably lose one to Arizona. That does happen. So in the division, I see a few losses and then maybe a couple outside. But overall, I think they'll be a team that keeps getting better as the year goes on.
All right. And last question is outside the 49ers, but I want to talk about this the current situation with the Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Yeah.
And if you've been watching Hard Knocks,
I have.
The things there's been some talk about his throwing shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes.
the MRIs are good, but they're going to hold him out for possibly the entire preseason. Mm-hmm. So, do you think the Cowboys are, being honest about this injury, or is bigger than what we think it is, what we think it is, and we might not see Dak later in the season?
No, I think that they're being, for the most part, honest. I mean, nobody really in the NFL is completely honest, especially head coaches, GMs, and stuff like that. I think it is a problem because you went ahead and got a second MRI. He's throwing in practice. He's not throwing any 50-yard bombs or anything like that. He's throwing, short, intermediate routes. But I don't think that he'd even be doing that if he had a real severe shoulder problem. So I think they keep it cool. I don't see a reason to play him in preseason. He knows his guys. He knows what to do. If they got to shake off a little rust, it may be in the first game, and they're playing Tampa Bay as it is, so that's going to be a tough one. So, no, I think that for the most part, Dak's shoulder really is okay, and they're just trying to get it, back into work. He hasn't thrown in a long time, going up to about like a month ago. So maybe it's just a strain. And for Dallas Cowboy fans, which I'm not, you got to hope that's all it is.
Yeah, they better hope, man. And also, they open up the season against Tampa Bay on Thursday night, opening game. A lot of eyeballs on that game, and I know some poor people are going to be upset if he's not playing. If You know what I
Oh,
mean? You know
yeah.
that first game, but that's it, man. Wrapping it all up. That's all I have. All the questions I have. Let the folks know where they can find you on Twitter, man, and anything you got planned for the Third and Three podcast, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And look, again, thanks for having me on the show. It was a blast. I love talking football, and especially with someone like you, man. You know, we go back a while now, and you know, we got a football podcast, and I love it. I love talking about it. But yeah, you can find me and Damian and Nikki on the Third and Three podcast every Wednesday night. We go live. You know, we're on Facebook, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So that's where we're rolling, and we're going to be doing all our predictions are coming up. We're still running through the divisions and getting our record straight and everything. So every week we're going to be predicting every single game. We're going to go over the games, you know, our top 5 lists and everything like that. And also we're going to add in a lot of fantasy into our show, which we started last year, where we draft a quarterback, a receiver, a running back, and a defense. But once you draft those players and that defense, you cannot use them again for the rest of the year. So we like to keep it fresh, and that's what we're going to be doing. Third and Three Wednesday nights. Don't miss it.
All right, so there you have it, man. We got Jason Fierman, Third and Three podcast, along with the real deal Damon Adams and Nikki Matthews. It's your boy Derek Branch. Signing off. Peace.
Peace.
All right.